All right, now we can get started. Hello, everyone from Stockton and our other community members. Thank you for joining us today for the Art of Pitching workshop with Sherry McCracken. I hope you all enjoyed the playlist. I saw we got some comments in the chat about it. This list was curated by one of our interns, Sean Butts, and it was an ode to the Oscar Awards that just took place this past weekend. So you may have heard a song from her, who recently won an Academy Award, as well as a few other artists that have won Academy Awards in the past. So I'm happy that you enjoyed that. My name is Christina Noble, and I am the Stories of AC Project Manager. We also have on the call Toby Rosenthal. Although many of you know her as Professor, she is also our coordinator. I'd like to also acknowledge two of our SOAC interns and comm students, Malika Stafford and Sam Apple, who will be helping to facilitate and moderate later on in the event. So just a few housekeeping items before we begin and some Zoom etiquette tips. This event will be recorded, as you can see, so please inform us if you do not consent to this, and we will do our best to accommodate you. Also, at the end of the program, we'll invite you to engage a bit more and share your thoughts and or ask questions to our presenters. So please be sure to stay muted until then. And in the meantime, please feel free to drop any questions or timely comments you may have in the chat for our presenter. And our intern, Sam Apple, will be manning the conversation. So you are all here today to learn about pitching precisely and persuasively. So just by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the show Shark Tank? Great, it's a pretty popular show, right? So this is a great example of people having to pitch an idea clearly, concisely, and quickly. So though all of us won't be featured on the show, unfortunately, learning this skill will be beneficial because it's applicable in a multitude of settings and career paths. So perhaps you're not pitching an invention or a product. Maybe you're an artist trying to sell yourself as a performer. Or maybe you are an entrepreneur of a small business and you're trying to gain some funds to really get that business going. Or better yet, maybe you are in communications and media and you're in the marketplace as a producer. And as a former practitioner, I'm sure Professor Rosenthal has shared some stories of the pitch film, right? So I read a quote recently by a gentleman named Lee Iacocca, and he said, "You can have brilliant ideas, but if you can't get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere." So that's really why we're here today. So I'm sure all of us have notes. I know myself, I can attest to this. I have notes scattered all throughout my notebooks and my phone of ideas that I've had in the past that just never really went anywhere. So many of us are guilty of this. But together, let's take the time to really learn how to develop those ideas from start to finish and then make the pitch. So with all of that being said, I'd like to introduce our guest and our pitching expert, Sherry McCracken. Sherry McCracken is the founder of Little Rock Films and Studios and the creator, producer, and director of the 48 Block series based in Atlantic City. She has a history of working in the motion pictures and film industry and is skilled in photography, film production, and cinematography. Before becoming an entrepreneur in digital storytelling, she worked with AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals in brand management, marketing, and sales. And we have a twofer today because we are also joined by her partner. So we get all of the expertise all around. So I'm so excited, of course, to have you two join us today. Dina as well, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to all the wisdom and the tidbits that you had to share with us today. So before I toss to Malika Stafford, who will be moderating the workshop, I'd like to present to you all a trailer created by Sherry McCracken for her 48 Block series. So just give me a moment to pull that up, and then we'll dive right in.
Everything is for sale. You haven't asked the price, that's all. New Hampshire Avenue by the inlet.
Playground, you mean?
You expect me to kick these kids off my court? New Hampshire sacred ground.
Find a way to get it done.
If I
myself in the godforsaken position of putting my boy in the ground. You better not be within a mile of his gravesite.
That sounds like a threat.
Looking for a job's a full-time job.
You know what else is a full-time job? Dealing with your self-pitying ass.
I thought this was about Jarrell.
It's about Jarrell, me, and you.
If I could do it all over again, I'd spend my time being smart. If I had done that, I'd own this whole damn city.
This guy, Vernon Carver, King, we want you to do your reporter thing. Dig into him a little bit.
Who's we?
Just do the digging.
How do you want me to handle it?
I'm gonna handle it.
I know who you are, Mr. Stoker. I've written about you before.
You have. I should catch up on what's really happening.
Try putting words in my mouth, believe me. You won't like what I stick in yours.
You know it's not funny getting caught with your skirt up and your thong between your ankles by the man who pays the bills because he owns this whole fucking town.
I mean, you can have your first-class cabin on the Titanic, but it's still going down.
Except your metaphors are wrong, son. I'm not the passenger. I'm not the ship. I'm the fucking ocean.
Let's just give that a round of applause. You see, we're dealing with the professionals. So bravo, that was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. And the interesting thing is, Dina and I watching this, we've only seen it like 80,000 times, but watching it that time, we're like, ooh, there's a little spin we could do on the log line. You know, it's so you're constantly rethinking your project.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So I'm actually going to toss to Malika Stafford now, who's going to pick it up from here.
Okay, I want to first start by saying thank you for allowing us to view your amazing 48 Blocks trailer. I know I'm not alone here when I say that this concept is absolutely phenomenal. Like, it's so cool to see a story that puts AC front and center and at the core of a narrative of a TV show, which has barely happened besides like Boardwalk Empire. So I'm curious to know, how did you know, Christina, you have the presentation? Yeah. So how did you know 48 Blocks was a solid idea? And how did you find that spark? Can you tell us a little bit about your creative process in coming up with the concept?
Sure. Well, you know, Dina, who's my production partner and also my wife of 22 years, you know, we moved here 10 years ago, and we've been making feature films in the past, indie features, and we've received distribution, and we feel very successful with what we've done with feature films. But we were like, what can we do? We did them in Pennsylvania. We thought, what can we do in New Jersey? You know, I wanted to stay here. In the beginning, I really didn't want to move here, but Dina talked me into it. And then I thought, what could we do here in New Jersey? And I saw such potential as I started to get to know Atlantic City off the boardwalk, potentials for stories, stories right out of the, you know, front page of the newspaper. I mean, anything that's happening in America is pretty much happening in AC. But really, most people only know about casinos and the beach, right? So there's so many rich stories here. How can we take those stories and make them into something that not only Atlantic City would be interested in, but the world would be interested in? So, you know, I just felt like there were so many rich characters, communities, storylines. And at the time, you know, feature films were big, but people were just starting to get into television binging, right? Finding your favorite show and streaming it and binging it. So why not, you know, do something that's a series versus a feature film and you know, try our luck at that. We had the background for being able to put a production together, and we've had the success. And we've done it, like I said, in PA, and we've seen things done in all different cities like New York and Chicago and LA. But why not Atlantic City? It's an untapped landscape full of great stories. And Dina, did you want to add anything to that? I also convinced Dina to come today. She is an actor and a producer, and we've worked on all our projects together. So I thought she could provide even a different perspective from an actor's point of view.
Well,
trying to stay in Atlantic City, we were trying to find a project so that I wouldn't have to run to New York all the time. So it was a bit selfish in the sense, but in today's world, a lot of times you have to create your own content to find work. So that was the precipice for it, as well as a story that you read, I think, about a kid who was about to lose his skateboard park. Do you want?
Right. Yeah. I had read, we've been working on this for, over 4 years now. So I had read a few stories, and something that stood out for me in a digital newspaper called Route 40 was talking about a young person that lived in Atlantic City, and he was at the skateboard park every day, just honing his craft, finding, ways to, I guess, just enjoy his life and things to do outside of school. And the skateboard park was super important to him. Some people came in and they decided, we want to do something else with this land, and we want to take the skateboard park away. Well, here was a playground, a skateboard park for young people, and now we're taking it away. And what do the young people do now with that time that they really enjoyed with their skateboard and their friends? So it really got me thinking, like, greed and politics and everything that goes around, not just Atlantic City, but any city. And how are we supporting our communities and the people that are growing up here that have, real lives and families? And so it got me thinking about what are those stories and what's important to people.
Yes, to comment on that, how can we find out what makes an idea good? Or in your case, how did you find out what made that story a good story to move forward with when you went to go pitch yourself?
Well, first off, it's kind of gut, right? Like, what's happening, what moves me as a creator? Where do I see, maybe there's a gap. There are a lot of shows out there, right? We know that people like shows and they like binging. So are there enough stories to take you through several seasons? Or are you going to go dry with, after the first season? So there has to be that rich opportunity for storytelling in this case. Also, do people care? Do people care just because I have a great idea or you have a great idea? What makes people care about it? And I think, you have to have a fan base that you already have in place. Like, we know people that care about Atlantic City, that grow up in Atlantic City and see the other sides of Atlantic City, already care about something like this. So I'm already starting with a group of people that would be interested in wanting to see their neighborhood, their city, their community on screen. So I think that's key. Like, what is the little niche that you fill? And how many people right off the bat could you get to be interested in that idea? And that could be, that could be a film, that could be a product, it could be a football helmet, it could be a pair of sneakers, it could be a business that you're starting. You need a base, and you need to know that people actually would care about what you're providing to them.
Yeah, I find that to be exceptionally very, very moving when you said find out what moves you, because I feel like that's what really makes stories come alive and actually makes them more relatable and more impactful for audiences. So if y'all don't take anything away, find out what moves you. But another thing that I want to comment upon is, how can you comment about like your process, like behind making the idea come to life? So would you say that the process is more important than the pitch itself?
Well, they're both important, but you certainly have to do the process before you can do the pitch.
Yes.
Because if you don't know exactly, the details of what you're talking about, what your product is, and why somebody would care about it, then you really don't have a pitch. So all this pre-work has to be done. And, something that we've talked about, Malika, in the past, is you have to have that passion. So it could be a great idea, but, and I think Christina touched on this too, if you don't have the passion to put the time in, to pull it across the finish line, then it's just an idea. and it's not going to go anywhere. You've got to be prepared to work. And, you know, you're going to run up, and we're going to talk about this. You're going to run up against obstacles, and you've got to be ready to just keep fighting for what you believe is a good idea.
Yes, and finding those people along the way to help you make your idea come to life. Because, you know, the people that you meet on the way there, you know, those who are beside you are the people who are going to make the idea just come to fruition. So now Sherry had some little nuggets in there that I don't think you want to forget. So if you have a notepad and a pen lying around, jot this down, because these are Sherry's tips. Now, number 1 is find the spark within the ideas you create. Number 2, find out what makes an idea good. Find out what moves you, like she said. And number 3, find like-minded individuals who can support you through the process. Find the people that care. Sherry, do you have anything you would like to add?
Just, you know, I'm lucky because, you know, my number 1 fan and supporter is my wife. And so she's in the industry, so we can work on things together. And I can put ideas past her, and she can feed back, and she'll give me honest critiques, which is really important too, because you do have a lot of friends and family that will be like, oh, that's so great, right? But it's not real. So find the people that care, that kind of understand the industry you're in, whatever you're doing, that are interested in it, and that want to give you not only support and help, but also honest feedback about your ideas.
That's so true. Like, you can't do anything alone. You need people. Okay, some people want to take over the world by themselves, but you need people to help you get to the goals that you're trying to attain. So like you said, having those people around you who can give you honest feedback and not just, you know, be a parrot like, oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, you're great. But actually like sit there and actually give you that feedback that you need. So most definitely.
Right. I think it's key from, you know, from the very beginning, we've involved people in this project. And, you know, people changed and left the project and new people were at it. But in the beginning, I find it really hard as a creator with a lot of startup projects that we're working on because you're on an island, literally. We do live on an island, but, you know, you don't have that support you need just to bounce ideas off of. And sometimes it can be very lonely. You know, a lot of people enjoy working together. I really enjoy collaboration. And I really don't think it's always like my idea, you know, my way or the highway. I think everyone that's interested and has the right intention in helping you can provide, you know, good feedback and ways that make your project better.
Most definitely. So moving on. So, all right. So often it's difficult to pinpoint the things that investors are looking for when people are pitching their ideas to them. So in your professional opinion, what are the basic factors that investors look for in people who are pitching to them? And, or in other words, what should we be aware of when we are pitching ourselves or our projects to investors?
Well, I think number 1, people want to know how they can make money. So if I'm going to, you know, give you money, then you're going to return more money to me. So I would think that's the number 1. Wouldn't you agree, Dee?
Yeah, so yeah, ROI, but then there's also, you know, knowing what's important to people. Maybe somebody's interested in the arts and they want to support the arts, or maybe they're interested in seeing, in our case, Atlantic City on screen. So it's just knowing how to reach out to, understanding what their needs are and trying to tap into that.
Yeah, we've had people in the very beginning give us money and not want credit. A lot of people want, you know, their name. We've had people that are anonymous and they just want to see, like Dina said, the arts, you know, grow in Atlantic City, and seeing something new and unique was very interesting for them.
Yes, most definitely. So can you talk about like what when you were pitching yourselves to like investors, what were the objectives and the intentions that you set for yourself while you were pitching yourself to these investors?
Well, the objective was to get money and buy in.
We have different tiers of like, our pitching. First, we just wanted to raise enough money to make a proof of concept pilot. Okay, so and when we started pretty basic, I would say. We weren't looking for the money we ended up wanting. We started small, and we use tools such as, and I can't see if I'm showing this right, but something that we could leave with people that we would talk to. And what we were looking for in the beginning were people from Atlantic City, business people that could see that how it would help to bring a television series to Atlantic City, how it would help the economy, right? So we were going, after people that, worked, were, bettering, I guess, Atlantic City, we're building new businesses, we're on city council, whether, or the mayor, things like that, people that had an attachment to Atlantic City and wanted to see Atlantic City with something that could help promote it and make it more visible to the rest of the world. So that's kind of like how we started. And by building this, I don't know how much you guys can see, but a leave behind. So we could say, what is our project about?
A little closer.
Yeah.
Just, it talks about the project, our vision, how we see them making money, everything, that were the key, what our budget could be, everything was in there. That was just the key points.
Right. So we have a basic budget, not a real detailed, but it shows that you're real, right? You're a professional. You're just not a person out there with a little idea that, might not go anywhere. You've done your research. You've made it. You've shown your past work. Hey, we've already done things like this in the past. We have a good track record. And then, who's involved with the project. And the networking with just the people that are involved with the project really helps. So involving people that are in the community, in our case, that have relationships with people that might want to support something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Finding those people.
Yes. Did you ever have any feelings of uncertainty while pitching yourselves to investors?
Yeah, all the time. You're always like, is it you get no's, you get glazed eyes, like when you try to talk to people, and it's like, well, it's not important to them. People only have so much room in their lives to pay attention to things. So you can't take that as a bad sign. You just have to keep going, and you have to find those people that care about what you're doing, and they're out there, but it takes a lot of work. And it really is about relationships. So just getting yourself out there and involved in the community and places where people, might be interested in your product, and building those relationships and those networks, I think is really what helped us to move the project forward.
Most definitely. Connections get you in the room. They get you in the room with those people. Now, if you guys didn't retain anything, make sure you pay attention to this, because here are Sherry's tips. So number one, determine your end goal. I know we kind of briefly touched upon this, and their end goal was to raise money, raise funds, but your end goal may be building a fan base, or you want to sell your product. So determine your end goal. Number two, know your objectives and be aware of your intentions. And number three, like she said, like they said, like you may not know everything at first, but you have to be ready to adapt and adjust. Even when they aren't paying attention, you still got to keep going. So my next question for you. Wait, anyway, before I move on, is there anything you would like to add to that?
No, I mean, this will probably come up later, but knowing your objectives, again, I didn't really talk about this, but, for us, it was, do we just want to be in film festivals? I mean, that's fine too, right? If your intention is, I just want to make a short film and I just want to take it to different film festivals, and I want to meet people in festivals, and maybe it shows up on some small streaming channel. That's all good too, but just knowing what you want. And we knew we were shooting to be bigger. We weren't so interested in festivals unless they got us to that next point, which was to be able to sell a full series. So just know your intentions, and no matter, how small or lofty, it's okay. It's just know what you're looking for.
Yeah, most definitely. So moving on, we know that not every success story happens by chance. We're not going to all have that fateful encounter on the street or in the coffee shop or in a restaurant, and maybe not even in an elevator, but with a director or a producer. But what advice do you have regarding promoting yourself and connecting to investors, like making those connections?
Well, I think it's real important just to connect in any way possible with people in the industry. And one of the things that Malik and I were talking about was getting on Clubhouse. This is kind of a new thing for me, but I have found, and I have a little addiction with it now, but I have found that getting in there and finding people that are like-minded people, that are interested, in our case, in film, indie filmmaking, people from Hollywood. I mean, there's all kinds of discussion groups now on Clubhouse where you can get out there and not only find people that might be good for your team, but also have opportunities to pitch to people. There's the hustle club, pitching ideas and just learning, where they'll give you critique. Some leading industry experts will give you critique on your pitch. All this, I think, is super important, so that when that time comes, and it might even be on Clubhouse, that you're able to say something and someone goes, oh, wow, I like that. I'm going to get in touch with you. So that would be a way to promote yourself. Have your brand ready. Be able to say, what is your brand? Like for us, 48 Blocks, we have t-shirts, right? We have your business card ready, things like that, so that you're always prepared, no matter what, to talk about your product, and be able to do it in a clear, concise way. Because a lot of people, they find this opportunity, even on Clubhouse, and they just go off, because in their mind, this is a great idea and everybody wants to hear everything about it. But in their mind, it's like, just give me the elevator pitch and I'll know whether I like the idea or not.
Yeah, I just joined Clubhouse, and it's like a whole different world over there. And it's kind of overwhelming a little bit. But I saw Lakeith Stanfield giving a talk on there once. I was like, oh my gosh, he's on Clubhouse? And all these other industry professionals. So yeah, if you're not on Clubhouse, you need to get on Clubhouse. But can you comment on the importance of tailoring your pitch to who you're specifically pitching to?
Yeah, you don't always know when you see somebody, at the coffee shop, what their background is. But if you actually have a meeting set up for a pitch, just knowing that person or people and what they care about. So doing your research about, what is their background? What is their resume? What is their portfolio? What things are they interested in? Just knowing those things. Also knowing, like in the film industry, you need to know what's on their mandate, which means what type of shows are they looking for? And similar to Shark Tank, there's certain products they're looking for, right? With streaming channels and, movie producing houses, they have a certain mandate that they're looking at for that year. And when we started 48 Blocks, we thought, people were looking for a certain genre, and that has changed in 4 years. So if you're making something for 4 years, you might not be able to sell it because the market is very different from 4 years ago. So if anything I've learned, and we've learned a lot, we're always learning through this process, is that you need to be aware of what the audience wants, what the buyer wants, and try to make it in a short time so you can get it to market when they really need that particular material.
Or have enough so that you have something.
Yeah, or have enough. Yeah, in your back pocket, which is the other thing, right? They may say, oh, that's a great idea, but what else do you have? So be ready with that second and third idea and have it baked enough. Not just like, oh, I have a show called this or that. It's like, here's the log line, here's a synopsis, here's a takeaway that I can leave you.
Like if you're ready, you won't have, if you stay ready, you won't have to get ready. That's how the saying goes. Like if you are always prepared, you won't need preparation. So yes, most definitely.
And then, you know, also, and I don't remember where this fits in our presentation, but just always be ready, you know, your brand is you. And so be ready, be presentable, you know, be healthy. I mean, you know, and most of all, listen, because people will ask you questions. And if you're so busy just talking, you're not hearing what they are interested in. And so they're just zoning out. Yeah, and I've had that several times happen to me where we'll be on a set working and I'll have people that, you know, want to get their film out there or their show out there, and they'll just start pitching it to the actors. And it's like, that's not how you do it. And they'll probably never hear from that person again or that producer. So I think that's important in how you present yourself.
And I think this kind of goes along with what you kind of said earlier, but you have to be active when you are like trying to get your work out there. You can't just expect things to just come to you. You have to be out there, boots on the street, actively searching for the things that you want and, you know, connecting yourself with those people. So here are Sherry's tips. So number one, do your research. Do your research. Number two, you need to know your log line, and you have to be ready at the drop of the hat, or you need to know your idea. Whatever you need to know it, and you need to memorize it. And number three, tailor your pitch to who you're pitching to. You're not going to give everybody the same pitch. Sherry, do you have anything to add to that? Or Dina?
Well, I think one of the things I wanted to bring up is, you know, just get involved with your industry and be able to, that's part of your research, right? Knowing what it takes to do something. You could have a great idea for a show or a script, but have you ever been on a movie set or a television set? And Malika, I think you're doing something right now where, you know, you're rolling up your sleeves and you're doing probably not the most fun work or the most creative work, but, you know, you're helping and you're learning. And for you to be able to go and pitch something of your own, I think you need to understand what it takes to do something like that. And actually, you know, we used to call it in pharmaceuticals, carrying the bag, actually do the job so that you can present it. And also like understand, you know, not only how long it takes to do something, how many people need to be involved, what your budget needs to be, all of these things you learn by being maybe a PA. But making sure you're not complaining, you're rolling up your sleeves, you're taking out the trash if that's what it takes, but that starts—
And with a smile.
And with a smile. And that starts building your network. Because when we go to make a show the next time, we're going to look back and go, oh, Malika, and she'd do anything. And she'd never complain. And she's got talent. Let's ask her to be on our next project. So that's really important.
Yes. Like when I was on set, I learned what a C-stand was. I was like, what? A C-stand? I learned how to put a light together. I was like, this is also new for me. Now, before we move on, I know in previous conversations, we discussed the new phenomenon of NFTs. For those of you who don't know, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and they are currently taking the digital art world by storm. Can you briefly touch upon what they are and how artists can benefit from them in regards to the promotion of themselves and their work?
Well, I'm sure most people have heard about Beeple. and his digital art piece that he sold for $69 million. And I actually was on a Clubhouse session with Beeple he didn't know me personally, but he was in this Clubhouse, and we were all listening together as it was being auctioned off. And it's just crazy how the world is changing and the possibilities out there because of something that you can create that can be then a, one of a kind, have a digital signature to it, and then be, sold and resold when the artist still continues to make the money every time it's resold or used, because it has a smart contract attached to it. So I think it's real important now to learn about how you can use NFTs, if it fits into your project or your product or not. But I think we're only just skimming the surface on what we could be doing with NFTs. And Dina and I are now looking at how could this help us raise money to make future films, whether that be a product, maybe it's for Atlantic City, let's just say maybe it's a mural. We have a mural program. Maybe the artist does a smaller size mural and offers maybe 3 of them to us with signature, and that becomes an NFT, and we raise money for our project by selling those NFTs. It's just a different way of kind of looking at things these days, right? It's going to be big. It's just starting.
It really is. I just heard like Snoop Dogg is like auctioning something, holding an auction for his NFT earlier this month. And I was like, oh, okay. Everybody's getting in on it. Okay, so moving
celebrities, man, they have such opportunities right now. Like they didn't have enough already. Now it's even bigger, right?
Yeah, they just want to get more money. But
just be creative. It's not just NFTs, but creative ways to raise money, and not only raise money, but raise awareness for what you're doing. And social media obviously is important, but this can also play into that social media, because if you can grab people's attention as something they want to buy, something they're interested in. I mean, we could do a digital rendering of Lucy the elephant. Mm-hmm. That could be something. We could do the lighthouse. So there could be different things and ways to raise money. Maybe there's, a label, an artistic label that goes on a bottle of 48 blocks vodka. So you're bringing in Little Water Distillery, you're bringing in, 48 blocks. Just kind of like you're bringing in an artist. It all kind of comes together.
That is so true. So moving on to my next question for you. And this is a huge one. Very important.
This one's for Dina.
Oh, both of you can answer this question if you like. Rejection in life is inevitable, especially in regard to making it big. Now, how do you both handle rejection in your careers, your respective careers, and what are some positive takeaways we can learn from it?
I think the most important thing you can take away from it is just don't take it personally. It's not about you. That's the number one. I think also the only way you can fail is that if you stop trying. So as an actor, I take rejection every day, multiple times a day. I think Mark Ruffalo, who just won several awards this year and is very well known and is a fabulous actor. I think he went on over 500 auditions before he got his first yes. That's a lot of rejection. So you never know if they wanted someone, I'm just going from an actor standpoint, did they want someone who was 2 inches taller or just a little bit heavier or skinnier, anything, blue eyes, brown eyes. You just have to keep working and putting yourself out there and do whatever you can not to take it personally. But it's hard. And the same thing with our project too. There's been people that have said yes, and then they just don't show up when it comes time to sign the deal or write the check. It happens multiple times. We get close to someone, or this person's interested, this network is thinking about it, they have interest, but they don't have enough money. Maybe next year, different things. You just keep trying.
Yeah, it is really a roller coaster ride. And it's hard, especially with art and being an actor, but also creating art. It's hard to not take it personally, I find. You know, when I was in the corporate world, it was a little easier. But when it's really your art and you think people are judging your art or your looks, it's a whole different ball game. And it's a real challenge and something you have to work on, not to take things personally. It doesn't matter how many times, you know, we've done this or how old we are. We always deal with people that don't see, you know, the good in something we've created, and they only see the negative. And that can be that can be tough on your, you know, on your well-being if you take it so personally.
That's very true. I know I've had experience with that. Like, you know, not everybody's going to like what you do. And, you know, art is personal. It is a personal thing. And, you know, someone once told me, like, there will always be someone better than you. They will always, like, be someone that has more talent. They'll have a better idea or all of the above. But you have to be confident enough within, like, yourself and in your ideas and anything that you put forth to see anything that you want to do through to the end, in spite of what others might think or say. Because, you know, in the end, they really don't matter. Okay. If you take
in the end, they're not you, right?
Yeah, they're not you.
They,
most definitely.
I think it's the easiest to see when we're auditioning people, because like I feel so bad not choosing someone. It's like really hard on me. And but you know, when it came down to like choosing who Jarrell's mother was going to be and father was going to be, it had to be somebody that looked like Jarrell. You could have brought the best audition to the table, but you didn't have the right color eyes. You didn't, you know, you weren't tall enough. All these different things that go into it. So we've got to be able to step back and look at those things and try not to take it personally.
Can't take it personally. I would be in a mental institution if I took it personally.
Just keep going.
Yes, keep going. Can you comment on perfectionism and how that can hinder yourself when you are like, you know, trying to put projects together and stuff like that?
It's a work in progress. I'm going to say try and live with a perfectionist. That you can't, it gets in the way.
Yeah, I'm a creative person and a perfectionist. They kind of are at odds with each other. You know, and one of the things we did very early on with 48 Blocks was I went out and shot a really raw, like sizzle, you know, I mean, riding in the car and going through AC and just putting that together with some maybe images I took off the internet just to get the idea out there for the fundraiser. We wanted to be able to show something to people. It was definitely not anything that I can say, oh my God, I want to show you guys today, because I'm a perfectionist and I wasn't that proud of it.
I think it's great.
but it, you know, it got us off the launch pad, right? And the people that were at the fundraiser, they loved it. And they understood right away, this is what you're trying to do, because people relate to visual a lot better than anything else. Than reading. People are visual people, and they're used to, especially these days, seeing video. So getting out there and creating something, no matter what, doesn't have to be perfect, helps you to get your project off the ground, because then people go, oh, I get it. That's cool. You know, we had a song written for the little sizzle I put together, and people were blown away by that song. So just, you know, pairing that together with images, people gave us money after that.
Did you ever show it to Malika?
No.
Yes, like, I'm just like, I feel like students nowadays struggle with rejection and perfectionism. And I definitely can attest to that.
Give me a call anytime. I'll help you through
it. Please. It's getting hard. But like, it's just, when you want to put everything together, make it as perfect as possible, you know, and, you know, trying to attend to all the different little details, you're just kind of robbing yourself of enjoying the process
That's right.
that goes into it.
You
So
said the key word, it's a process.
yeah,
Yes.
it's a process.
Yes. And you
So,
know, you
yeah.
you got to be able to fail. You got to be okay with failing. I mean, you should see our first script compared to what we filmed. It was so different.
Compared to what it will be, because that was our proof of concept when we actually get the opportunity, when we still have to sell our series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've come a long way. We raised money to do a proof of concept pilot, but we still haven't sold the series. But
Right.
we're making every day, we're taking steps forward.
And every day we, get rejected, but we also get those little
Nuggets.
those little wins, right? And that's what keeps us going, even though it's a roller coaster ride.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep seeing the good things and make changes along the way.
Yes, you just got to keep going. Now, here are Sherry's tips. So, number one, leave your ego. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Don't take things personally. Number two, you have to put yourself out there. Rejection is inevitable. And number three, a project doesn't go anywhere when you are being a perfectionist. Period.
I'm going to keep that slide like on my wall.
You should.
So I remember to stop being a perfectionist.
Like a little mantra affirmation to yourself.
Yes.
So moving on to my next question for you. I think many people don't really take this into account when they're pitching themselves to investors. So what is the importance of maintaining your reputation as it relates to pitching yourself to people who may not know, who you may not know, but they may know you?
Yeah. I still go back to that, when you're working on projects, always do your best and always present yourself like you're dating someone. And you want to put your best foot forward, because you never know. Again, when people ask us, was this person good to work with? And, because we're shooting a film and we want to know who you would recommend. Well, I'm always going to go back to who impressed us, and not just because, they looked a certain way, but it's like showing up on time, right? Always being on time. That's like so key. Like I learned that from Dina, actually. I was always a late person. So you can't have the money that you have in a project like a film and be waiting on people to show up. So, those things, even though they're small, they're things you have control over and that will follow you everywhere, right? Showing up on time, not complaining. I mean, they're just easy things that you don't even have to be skilled at. Just basic, right?
You have to be likable.
Be helpful. Yeah.
People don't want to work with people they don't like.
Yes, I feel like that's so true with actors too, because like I was on set and I'm not gonna say no names, but one of the actors was not particularly nice, right? But there was another actor who was so polite, and they said hello and bye to everyone on the set. Like consistently, it was like 11 o'clock at night, but they still found the time to say goodbye to every single person on that set. So yes, reputation is key.
Yeah, our first, not to throw names out or brag, because I believe that ego needs to take a back seat. That was probably on one of our slides. But our first feature film, we had the honor of working with not only Mekhi Phifer, but also Sterling K. Brown. And it was my first time on set, and I was actually not only producing, but being the stills photographer. And I was scared to death. I mean, I'm a professional photographer, but there was a whole different world for me, knowing when to take a picture, knowing, like people getting mad because you're in the way. So I was learning, and Sterling was amazing. I mean, he was just so kind and, not full of himself, understanding that you two were trying to do a job. And, I respected his space, but he respected me. And look where he is today. I'm not saying because of his relationship with me, but you go a long way, I think, when you respect people and what they're doing.
And likable. Boy, is he one of the most likable people ever.
Yep. So lesson learned, right? Now there are other actors, and I don't mean Mackay. Mackay was a great guy too. He was just a little more to himself, and he was also established. So you're going to get different things from different people. But going forward, it's like, who will you work with again? Mackay Pfeiffer is a a producing partner on 48 Blocks now. So carrying those relationships forward.
Yes. So you guys, here are Sherry's tips. So number 1, leave your ego at the door. There it is. Number 2, listen to what the other person cares about. And number 3, always be willing to help without complaining. If you're working on a set, nobody wants to hear like, this is too late, I want to go home. You need to be, there, present, engaged, and ready to help, because you never know when that person is going to help you in the future, whoever's over you. So Sherry, anything you would like to add before we move on?
I just remembered there was one time when I washed Sterling's laundry. So I was willing to put in the time. Again, being producers, no job is too small. You're trying to make an indie film together. It's going to take all hands on deck, all people rolling up their sleeves and doing jobs that they might think they're above, but are so important to make the team successful.
Absolutely.
Yes. So my next question for you would be, what are the practices for investing in yourself? So the slide gonna move.
Well, for me, it's all about learning. Every opportunity I have to learn, whether that be from masterclass or, Clubhouse, or people, working on a set, working with, other indie filmmakers to create things, just reading everything. I'd be a sponge, just take it all in. It's so important. You never know what pieces are going to be needed later that you can bring to the table as part of a project. So learn all you can and create yourself and see what it takes to do something. Put in the time. It's all about putting in the time.
Yes, I'm interested into knowing, like, Dina, how did you, as an actor, invest in yourself, whether promoting yourself, getting to those auditions, like, how did you invest in yourself?
I train. I train every week with other professional actors in a school in New York, and that's key. There's people in my class that are series regulars on Billions and other places, and other shows, and it's just constant work. You just keep working at it. Friends in the industry. I also work as a casting associate for a New York casting director. So it's all about the relationships, having an agent or, your reps, your manager that believe in you and are getting you out there for auditions. But you have to understand that there's some people that are just born out of the womb and have the talent and never need to take a class. But just like anything else, it takes a lot of time and practice, and just keep doing it. Don't give up.
And get to know people, get involved. And, whether that be, an acting school, as Dina was saying, or, maybe it's a club with other artists. Maybe you're going to be in a play, get involved with other writers. Maybe there's writers groups. So just continually hone your craft and what you're interested in. Go to school.
Yes, every day is a learning opportunity. Every single day. You can take that time out your day to invest in yourself by reading that book, reading that script, or attending that master class, or going to that acting class. Whatever it is, every day is a learning opportunity.
Yeah, tonight I'm doing an industry workshop where I do a scene with somebody else in front of a casting director, and you just want to be known by all the casting directors that are out there, because you never know when they're going to do something.
And look outside of maybe what you're doing. In other words, what you're interested in. In other words, I'm interested, in filmmaking. But Dina and I also have business backgrounds. And so, you know, being able to take that business background and apply it to producing, because it's interesting. You might not think of producers as business people, but really that's what it's all about. It's, you know, budgets and, you know, finding the right people for the roles and, you know, what is your brand and creating, you know, your marketing materials. All those things are part of producing. So there's very different, you know, bunch of skills that are required for a project. So, you know, take what you're learning in school and be able to apply it to what you really want to do in the future.
Yes. Now we have only one tip from Sherry, and that tip is be a sponge. Learn, learn, learn. Now, moving on, my next question is what we have all been waiting for. What are the fundamentals of a great elevator pitch? What are the key things that must be included within our pitch, given the short amount of time one would have in an elevator? Are there things to avoid in our pitches?
Well, you need to be able to introduce who you are. So you need to obviously kind of look your best. With us, we pitch using our 48 Blocks t-shirts. So that's kind of our brand, right? So there's a look and feel to how you want to be and how you want to present yourself. So getting ready for the pitch. And then, you know, that hook, what is going to get people interested? Again, not going on and on about something, but be concise and be able to practice all the time. I'm telling you, you think it's easy, but it's not. All of a sudden, your whole, like, everything you believe in is riding on, you know, this minute or less
than a minute,
right? So you want to be prepared. You could start talking and then never get to the real hook because the person's already gone or they've lost interest. So what can you say in those 30 seconds that can really hook a person? And then, you know, and then what are you asking? What do you want from them? You know, hopefully they're the right person. You know, they're a person that really cares about what you're saying. So what are you expecting back from them? And then not to let them go before you get their information. Like, how can you contact them?
Yes.
What do you want to say, Dee?
I lost interest, so I wasn't enough.
I'm kidding. Rejection.
I know that you told me beforehand you were going to have to do a pitch. So all of a sudden I saw that and I started, actually I did. I wasn't paying attention.
She got nervous.
I started thinking, oh, what am I going to say?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm putting her on the spot to do a pitch for 48 Blocks. So, you know, just so people can see and understand, you know, if you're going to do a pitch, and hopefully you'll have a chance to do that today, it's a little nerve-wracking because anything that's important to you will make you nervous. You could know it all, but you're going to get that little flutter because it means so much to you.
Yes.
To say the right thing, right? To get that hook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I was in class and I got put on the spot because we had to do a pitching exercise too. And I was like, I don't know what to say. But, you know, I have these tips now. So here are Sherry's tips for what you need to know for your elevator pitch. You need to have who you are, what you're doing, and why it matters to the person you're pitching to. Number 2, be concise. Keep it short and sweet. And number 3, know your subject inside out and memorize it for that moment, that beautiful moment when you're in the elevator, that chance encounter, and you have that amount of time. You got to take your time and use it. So, yeah. Now,
and know the person you're pitching to, right? Like we talked about earlier. Like, why would they care?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like my mom loves anything I say, so she's going to listen. But why would this person care? Know your audience.
Yes, know your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And be ready, be prepared, and you'll be brilliant. So now we have our elevator pitch exercise. Now, remember when I said save these tips because you'll need those tips? Well, you're gonna need them right now. So I'm going to invite you all to make your own pitch based on Sherry's tips. But before we go any further, Sherry or Dina, is going to show us how it's done.
I'm not going to show you how it's done. I'm going to give it my best shot. I just found out about this. But I'm going to imagine that I walked into, I'm part of a group called NYWIF, New York Women in Film and Television, and they do mixers. So I'll imagine I just met a TV exec and I want to pitch our series.
Got it.
All right. Hi, I'm Dina Engel. I'm co-owner of Little Rock Films and Studios, and we produced a series, developed a series called 48 Blocks. It takes place in present-day Atlantic City, a city that literally has the pages that come right off the front page. It's a city that was dominated by Trump, and now two real estate developers battle for the top seat. They have a long buried secret hidden at a prime piece of real estate, and it's a secret that they'll stop at nothing to protect. Imagine The Wire meets This Is Us. Atlantic City, it's time for Atlantic City to have its own series. So here's my card, and I'd love to follow up with our sizzle reel, our pitch deck, and a fully produced pilot episode that we've already created.
I timed that. That was 49 seconds.
It's got to be so hard because I'm sitting right next to her. She's looking at a computer screen. I think it's so hard to just look at a computer screen. And we have our 13-year-old French bulldog panting next to us. So be ready, in other words, right?
All right. So I need to work on it.
I know. I think it was good. You were right there. 49 seconds. I feel like that's the first to the 10th floor. I feel like you got that. Definitely.
And I think you tailor it to the person that you're speaking to. Not only that, but your pitch changes all the time. Just like I said, we watched the trailer again, and I thought of a new, kind of a spin on the log line. So have a log line. Even if it's not a film or a script, kind of have that log line that describes it in 1 or 2 sentences what your project is. Mm-hmm. And have that with you always in your head. And that way you'll always be prepared.
Wonderful. I'm going to jump in here too. Thank you so much for that. That wonderful pitch. I know how nerve-wracking it is. Recently I had to do one myself. I'm learning too. So it is very nerve-wracking no matter how long you've been in the industry. So yes, we're going to invite our guests once again to create your elevator pitch. Whether you're an artist or you do something else, this is your time to shine and really start to think about that idea that you left in the dust somewhere. Think about how you can conceptualize that and make it into a short 30 to 45 second elevator pitch. And then we're going to invite you to share. We're going to invite a few people to share through the time, of course. But we're going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes to jot down your elevator pitch. And then we're also going to invite you to come on screen if possible, so we can really have that intimate time together and make it more like we're in person, even though we're virtual. So go ahead and take those 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to time you, and then we're looking for some volunteers.
Okay, and don't worry about being perfect. Just like Dina, you'll make a couple mistakes along the way, but it's practice. And that's what we're here to do, to help out with your practice.
We have about 1 more minute left. All right, we are at our time. I saw some people thinking there. So do we have any volunteers who would like to give their pitch? And once again, if you're able to, we would love to see your face to make this a bit more intimate and to take some of the nerves away. Well, I don't know if that'll help or not. That might make it worse, but we'd still love to see your face. So if you can, please come on screen.
Right, and I'm unmuting to apply a little pressure to my digital storytelling class they all show their faces for class. Please come back on. Maggie's doing such a good job. She's been here. Gianni, there you are. Hello, friends. Hello, digital storytelling. Represent. All right. Hi, Joe Molyneux. I saw you too. Hey, Ty. All right, here they come. They're here. Axel, if you're there, we're here for you. Jada. Kate, oh, Tori's here. Hey, Nastasia, Evan. Oh my gosh, they're all coming forward. All right, you got people. You got people.
Look at all the faces. Yes, yes,
Aren't
yes.
they
Thank
beautiful?
You.
They're
wonderful. They're bright and shining, and I'm just so happy to see them. So thank you, for coming, turning your camera on. It really means a lot. So I'm going to toss this to the professional herself, Sherry McCracken. She's going to be the director that you are pitching to. So if you'd like to volunteer, let me see if we have anything in the chat. Don't be scared. I know this can be somewhat nerve-wracking, but we would love to hear from you. Comm majors, this is your time to shine. This is it. Any takers? Any takers?
I can share mine.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
Great. The floor is yours, Sam.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sam Apple. I am currently a junior communication major at Stockton University. I am an intern with Stories of Atlantic City, which is an organization that promotes restorative justice stories. I have created content for their social media and website and have facilitated online events with them as well. My main goal is to be creative and show off my skills. I look forward to potentially talking with you more about myself in the future.
That's very good. Now, very good, especially with a short amount of time. What do you want from me?
No, a job.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably why I would be pitching myself to you.
Right. You want a job writing? You want what am I gonna remember when you leave? What is it like? I have a writing spot come up. Is that something?
Yes, I would be very interested in that.
Okay. So I think it's important to kind of get like what exactly you would be looking for. I'd love to be a writer on, a show that you're producing. I have, the following, like you gave me some qualifications, things that you were involved with. But I think that was very good. What do you think, Dee?
Absolutely. I think the content was there. I think the thing that was lost because you were just reading, we missed the connection, the personal connection. And so it felt like you were reading, and because you were.
Yeah, because you only had a few minutes to prepare it. Right. So in the future, yeah, it just needs to kind of like roll off your tongue, like it's something, that's just part of you.
But yeah.
It was really good.
And going further is huge.
Yeah, huge. Like I would just like pick you to be on a project because of you're brave. You know, you just will put yourself out there and take a chance. Again, rejection, you could get rejected, right? That's big just to take that chance. So I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being the brave soul, Sam, representing for both the COM program and Stories of AC. Wonderful job. Do we have any other takers? Yay, nay. I see some smiles. I see some nervous smiles. This is your time to learn.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. Just like Sam, you know, this is part of interviewing techniques, right? Because you're trying to sell yourself. So when you go to get a job, you know, it's not that different, that much different from raising money for a project and something you believe in. You're selling yourself. Why are you the right person for that job? So look at it that way too. These are skills that you would use in any walk of life.
I have to compliment Rachel Kina. I know she's withdrawn back a little bit. She's pitched in our class a bit quite well. She works at one of the local properties. I won't put anybody on blast. And she works in the pool area of one of them. And she often has to sell, or she shared with us how she's sold the robe. And she's had some really interesting tactics. And I don't know, Rach, if you're comfortable talking about it, but I think it's a really good example, or at least to share your process. Because to me, I found that so inspiring to hear it from you, like, you know, and that we were able to make that connect. So I'm going to invite you, Rach, to share that out.
So we get a little bit of incentive with it. My manager claims that if each of us sells 5, or whoever sells 5 robes first, she'll pay for our lunch. Not that I care that much, but if I'm the cashier for the day and people walk up and they see it, I say, oh yeah, this is our ocean robe. You guys can buy it for $45. Down the hall in the core store in the lobby, it's $90 and it's exactly the same. So if you guys want to grab it now. And that kind of draws them in a little more.
That's awesome. That is really like, so they think they're getting a deal. Even if they didn't think they needed it, well, it's like, I'm getting a deal, so I'll buy it.
And you put a timestamp on it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That's true. They have to act now or they don't get it at that price, right? That's really good.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Rachel. And I believe today, for those who are brave enough to pitch, there's also an incentive involved. So I'll toss that back to Sherry. And then, of course, if we can take about one more pitch. If there's anyone else that would like to share their idea while we're here. You never know who's in the room, guys, so this is your chance. That's my
true.
plug. But
That's
go
true.
ahead.
You never know.
Go ahead,
Just
Sherry.
like Clubhouse, you never know who's in the room. So we would like to offer a T-shirt, either 48 Blocks or a Little Rock Films, which we have some different sayings with Little Rock, to the people that are brave enough to get up in front of the room. Because believe me, I'd be scared to death too. But it's worth it. We're all here to support and help. And get a T-shirt.
Right. Thank you, Sherry. Any last takers? Like I said, we have time for about.
I'm sorry. My name's Lauren Stanton, and I'm curious exactly. Remind me again what we're supposed to be presenting.
Sure. So you're giving your elevator pitch, which is about 30 to 45 seconds. You're introducing yourself, telling a little bit about what it is that you're trying to pitch. So whether it's a business, an idea, and then of course closing out and leaving your information so that your director or producer can contact you back. You don't have to do that today. But just a brief introduction of yourself and what it is that you do and what it is that you're pitching.
Okay, can I go?
Absolutely.
Okay, my name is Lauren Stanton, and I specialize in drawing pet portraits. I like to go and try to make the personality of your pet stand out as much as humanly possible for affordable prices and colorful pieces. You can contact me on Etsy My username is Portraits by Ryn, RYN, and I look forward to seeing and drawing your pets.
Nice.
That's awesome. I know exactly what you offer. It sounded like you were passionate about what you do. You know, I'm thinking, you know, we may need a drawing of our Lola. So I think that your pitch really worked well.
Thank you.
Do we get to see you?
Right now, I'm kind of in pajamas, so.
That's okay. That's okay. That's the only thing that would take it over the top, is if I could feel that personal connection, because I would see you, and that would definitely help. But there are times, like on Clubhouse, where you're going to pitch and nobody sees you. They only see a picture of you. So, you know, I think it works perfect for that situation.
Okay.
Nice job.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing. That was excellent. And now I'm interested. I want to go over to Etsy right after this event and buy things that I really don't need. No, but that was wonderful. So thank you for those of you who shared. We'll be sure to get your addresses so we can send you your teas from Sherry and Dina. So I'd like to save these last few minutes for questions and answers. They really shared a lot of great information with us today, some great tidbits. And we really want to hear from you. This is your time to ask your questions and to get the knowledge that you need to be equipped with the tools that you'll need graduating, and even in this moment, going into careers and different things of that nature. So if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand, and I'm going to toss to Sam Apple, who is going to facilitate our question and answers segment. Sam, it's all you.
Yes, I got a few questions in the chat. Let me pull them up. Okay, the first one we got was from Professor Ludovich, who's a professor at Stockton, and she wants to know, how do you fund your productions?
Oh, well, right now we funded our proof of concept by raising money, fundraisers in the community, and then private investors. So, you know, it's all in that networking, pitching, you know, idea, and especially starting with the community. So we had a fundraiser at Little Water Distillery where we showed that basic proof of concept video, or I would say sizzle, just kind of that raw sizzle with the music, and we networked and we gave away t-shirts, and people had a chance to bid on products. So we did that.
Fundraising, private investors. We've even on other projects took a line of credit out of our own account to fund one of our features, a low budget feature. So those are the ways we've been doing it.
Because in indie film, really, the only way to kind of get in this industry, or I should say in Hollywood, the only way to get yourself in this industry is to move to LA and work your way up from the bottom, or make your own content and put yourself in it. You know, so there's kind of two different directions, and we don't want to move to LA, so we make the content here. We, you know, put Dina in as an actor, and I get to produce. So in our last film, I was the cinematographer, or DP as we call, the person that runs the camera, and that's the way that you do it. You have to kind of make your own way, especially in indie filmmaking. It's a lot of work.
Thank you for that answer. I have a couple more questions from Marissa Luca, who's actually a partner with Stories of Atlantic City. And her first question was, how do you keep your finger on the pulse of your audience? How do you know that what they'd like to see next? And is there any data or analytics that you can use?
Audience feedback is key. Getting other eyes on it. I mean, we've done a few things. One, we did it, you know, table reads before we went into production with our script, and rewrites and rewrites and rewrites. I think though it's interesting, like with our proof of concept, time is money. Every day cost a lot of money. I think, trying to think back, every single day that we did production for 48 Blocks was over $20,000. So we had to limit the time and the money that we had. And you find out afterwards sometimes that you just you didn't connect this way, right? Or
yeah.
so you go back and you make.
So you get as much feedback. You do the little things that don't cost you a huge amount of money, but can make an impact, and then get feedback on those pieces. So whether that be a script with a table read, most people aren't going to sit there and read a script. We find that these days, people, just want to watch something and they want to give you maybe 5 minutes, if that, right? So you've got to like make those things ahead of time that can be impactful. So that people will be interested in it, or hopefully be interested in it. The other thing is we watch a lot of television and watch a lot of movies, but lately it's been a lot of television, just seeing what do people like right now and why do they like it, right? I mean, there's a lot of true crime stuff out there right now. There's a lot of reality. We're finding that people don't want to hear about the pandemic anymore, so they want to see happy things, right? They want to escapism. Do the research, know what's out there.
I think too, also having the right team around you. I think, if you take lessons learned, if we had the money then, I mean, this was a proof of concept. That's what people seem to get. It gets lost in translation a lot because they think this was our finished product. But I think having more authentic voices in the writing room for us would have been a game changer.
Right.
And going forward, we'll make sure to do that.
Yeah. And that's what we'll be doing. With our series, like Dina said, moving forward, is having those authentic voices. I mean, we pretty much relied on people that we could, basically in the beginning get for free. I mean, you don't have the money to pay people. I'm not going to call someone up on the phone that I don't even know and say, would you mind like helping us write this script, but we don't have any money to pay you. I don't feel good about that. And so having those authentic voices and being able to find a way to give enough money to at least get them in a room and feel okay about them joining your team is super important.
It was a great answer. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, next question is, what does selling the series look like? Do you scout out potential networks?
There's a few different ways to go about it. It's very different for us selling a series than it was selling our films. A film is a completed, you do your film and you find a distributor, and we found that, all of our films have been streaming on Netflix and all the other streaming channels. But a series, that's a whole different ballgame, something that was new to us. So we're finding now, festivals are a good way. Having a rep that sells content, an agent that sells content is key. We're talking to someone tomorrow morning actually about that. Partnering with other production companies or just getting in the door. We've those are just the ways that we found that were the avenues we're going.
And maybe be willing to, maybe your expectation is you're going to be on Netflix, right? But maybe being able to accept, hey, some small streaming channel likes what we're doing and they want to partner with us and they want to make it better, and they have talent that they can add to it, that they have relationship with. All those things now we're considering. So we've changed, like I said, constantly along the way. We're always changing. We're always listening to what people are saying or asking for. And we're making those changes and adjustments along the way. We might be partnering with another production company now to take this to a streaming service, whereas in the beginning, we wouldn't have thought of something like that.
Right. We have a contract in front of us and we're negotiating. So there's all those different ways, but you need your first break in anything. And even though we have other projects under our belt, we don't have a series. So we might have to give up a lot. Or more than we were willing to, let's just put it that way, to get a project under our belt that's streaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're taking a big chance, like Dina was saying, with a feature film. you've got, you know, A to Z, what happens, it's fully baked. You attach a name if you have the money, and you got the cover and it's got the picture of the actor. With a series, it's like you're rolling the dice, because it may never see the light of day, because it's just the start of a story and not a full story. So it's a different, whole different ball game, and it's something that's really new for indie filmmakers. So we're just tripping and, you know, picking ourselves back up.
So we'll answer that question again once it's sold.
And then one last question we had from Marissa was, have you ever considered using Patreon for funding, or any like funding places like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's good in like Kickstarter campaigns for us shooting the pilot. But now that we've, you know, gotten over that fundraising and being able to make a proof of concept pilot, our next big funding will be from a buyer from a network. So, you know, we have Patreon would work just like Kickstarter. Seed and Spark is another. I think they're very valuable. We just knew we had a community that we could work from, so we did a lot more in person for this project.
Yep.
Is that all our questions?
So, I have a question. It's Lauren again. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Shoot.
Okay. So something I really struggle with is getting my art out into the public space. Like, I'm wondering if you guys had any tips on how to properly, I guess, network things like social media to get your what you're trying to get out there.
You want to take it?
Nope.
I think I find like social media, you know, and it could be because we're older, but we're very into technology, at least I am. But I really find that it's like the hardest, it's so overcrowded. It's like you have to find that unique way of pitching. And I really think it's more like local, and building your customers and your network locally with people that you can actually talk to in person. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I think Instagram is really important just to get followers, but how do you get followers to then act on actually buying something? And I think that's that personal connection.
I have to jump in here too. When Lauren was sending me her address, I then started chatting with her and I said, oh, are you a comm student? So then she shared out she's actually a visual arts student. And I said, let me email you about working with Stories of AC coming ahead. So, right, I just want to interject, this kind of networking experience is exactly how you can become more public facing. And just look at Malika, who, you know, is hosting a public out-facing event from, you know, that networking piece and from, you know, from all of that, from showing up and doing all of that stuff. So I want to compliment you, Lauren. You're headed in the right direction for sure.
Toby?
Thank you.
Can you also get their sizes, please, when you get their address?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So y'all get back in the DMs with size.
Lauren, I would also say, you know, making a t-shirt with some of your art on it and just wearing it everywhere. You don't know how many people just ask me about, where did you get that t-shirt? You know, and that opens the door to the conversation.
Okay.
Even big buyers that we're talking to now, it's like, oh, can I get a t-shirt?
Here's our Lola, you know, and people always, we would wear that, and people, it's just, so that's nothing compared to your art.
Yeah, be your own billboard.
Yes, right. You are the brand. You are the advertisement. T-shirts are always great, free advertisement. By the way,
as an actor, my business card has to have my photo, but why can't you have a business card that has some of your favorite art on it?
And, you know, we have a friend, I'm sure a lot of people know her, See Me Glow. You know, she makes jewelry out of sea glass, and so she's always wearing it. So then people are like, wow, where'd you get those earrings, right? I mean, you are your billboard. That should have been in the tips, Malika. I just realized.
See, constantly changing.
Right. Got to learn to go with the flow, right?
Yep.
Wonderful. Do we have any more questions? I want to make sure that everyone had their questions answered before we wrap up. I think we're good. Okay, so I'm going to share one more screen with you. Just give me a moment. So stay tuned. In the month of June, Stories of AC will be hosting our first media partner mixer. So talk about networking, right? Perfect opportunity. So we're aiming to bring together more local news orgs and community multimedia content producers and storytellers. So like I said, we've talked about networking. Now is your chance. Not only will you be allotted the opportunity to produce content for Stories of AC particularly, but you'll also be in a room with other entrepreneurs, other leaders in news and community initiatives, storytellers, artists, the whole gamut. So this is our save the date. It's going to be Thursday, June 10th. We'll bring to you more details soon, but make sure you just save the date on the calendar and start practicing that pitch, because once again, you just never know who's in the room. And lastly, if you do not follow us yet, please be sure to follow us on social media. You can also go to our website and check out everything that we do, who we are, and what we're aiming to bring to this great city of Atlantic City. So our website is storiesofatlanticcity.com, and on our social medias, it's Stories of AC and or Stories of Atlantic City. So be sure to check us out. And of course, you'll be able to connect with Sherry as well, who's also on social media. You can find her in our a few of our posts, so you'll be able to find her on social media as well.
Right, and I would ask that everyone follow 48 Blocks, the series, not to be confused with 48 Blocks, the art event. So it says the series, so that you can stay up to date with what's happening with our pitching. We have some big news we're going to be announcing next week, so just stay tuned for that. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? You guys we premiered the trailer for you today. So I forgot to say that in the beginning. So you were the first audience to see the trailer. So I'm feeling like, I hope you liked it. I love to hear comments. So, feel free to drop us a line and tell us what you think, or, how we could do something better. We're always open to suggestions.
Thank you so much for that. Don't we feel honored? Felt like we got the red carpet invite to go see this premiere. That was awesome. Once again, it was such a lovely trailer, so well done. Looking forward to the series. I know it's going to be amazing. So thank you once again for coming and joining us. Malika, Toby, are there any more closing words you'd like to offer? And of course, Sherry, anything else you'd like to close out with before we send them on their way? And Dina too, please.
I would just say, if you have a great idea and it's a great idea, just keep working at it. And if it has to be a side hustle, that's okay. That's the way we got started, but just do it, because you should be passionate about life and enjoy life and be able to just focus on projects that you want to see brought to fruition, and don't let people get you down. Just keep going forward with it.
Thank you. Malika, I see you unmuted.
I just want to say thank you to Sherry and Dina for taking this time out of your day to talk to the students, because I know you guys are very busy people, and I feel like it's such an honor to, pick your brains and get that insight into the industry. So really, thank you so much. I know I speak for everyone here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I welcome the opportunity. I love to mentor students. Like I said, we're open to, if you need help, you have an idea, I'm open to, you sending me an email, or, or getting to me through social media, DM me on Instagram. I am always happy to help a budding artist.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Also, another way to stay in the loop, you can send us your email address or put it in the chat if you'd like. We send out monthly newsletters. We have our April newsletter coming out tomorrow, and that'll keep you in the loop with all the things we have going on in the community and in the Stories of Atlantic City project. And of course, it'd be another way to connect with Sherry and her work. So feel free to drop your email address in the chat if you would like to be added to our email list and just be kept abreast of other events like this coming up in the near future. I see some dropping in there now. So thank you. We'll be sure to add you. Thank you once again for coming today. This was a wonderful time. I learned so much myself, and I'm sure you all did too. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again to our facilitators and moderators and everyone else that made this possible. So have a good one.
Thank you, Christina and Malika. Thanks for the opportunity.
And Toby.
And Toby.
And Job.
All right. Bye-bye.
And Sam.
There are